Welcome to Live, Life Inspired Views for Every Day. My name is Chris Meyer, and I'm a curious soul. When disaster strikes, most other conversation topics get pushed aside or dimmed in nature. That's what those of us living in Minnesota, Iowa, and other Midwestern states have been experiencing lately with the great flooding that has been devastating some communities. What always seems to accompany the news reports describing the devastation and traumatic situations involving homes and businesses in flood affected towns is the amount of help that people extend during these times. The reports are filled with stories describing the selflessness of people, the empathy and outpouring of resources, and physical help to those in need. Recently, I read a book, Humankind, A Hopeful History, exploring the nature of human beings. The author Rutger Bregman set out to find evidence that people by nature are basically good and kind, helpful and empathetic. He discovered that the violent and hurtful nature came into being as people became civilized. Many past studies, such as the Stanford Project, which was an experiment placing students in the roles of Nazi guards and prisoners, was a very flawed study. The original results determined that each of us as humans can easily be swayed to be evil contenders when put in certain kinds of situations. Well, what many researchers have discovered since that original study is that premise just is not true. The same goes for news reports which highlight looting and violence after a community experiences a catastrophe such as a hurricane. What researchers actually did find was that in those kinds of situations, there was very little looting or taking advantage of those affected by the catastrophe. Instead, there was much more help and amazing generosity to those dealing with these life changing events. It is when a few negative incidents were reported and highly publicized that law enforcement was brought in, leading to violence and misunderstandings. The book gave tons of examples of these flawed beliefs. This book confirmed in me that it is imperative to believe in the goodness of people. It's true. Life experiences have put scars into the souls of some who lash out in anger and violence, causing physical and emotional harm that is deep and damaging. But I believe that the great majority of people are good and kind and will do what they can to help when there is a need. Reminds me of a story in a book, All I Need to Learn I Learned in Kindergarten by Robert Fulghum. He describes a man that believed there had to be more good people in the world than bad. So he dressed up as a multimillionaire from another country and rode the taxis in New York City, which were at that time notorious for cheating people. Out of 37 taxi drivers, he was cheated by only two. Most often, the drivers would say, "Buddy, you don't need a taxi. Just walk down 2 blocks and go left 1 block." That was enough proof for Robert Fulghum. We have become such a suspicious society. Suspicion does protect us, but when it separates us, then I have to wonder if we have gone too far. In Oslo, Norway, you will find the Nobel Peace Center. It is fabulous and humbling to learn about all these great people who did so much to build peace and community in our world. When you stand in front of the center, you will see a concrete bench in the shape of an arc. It's called the best weapon. When you enter the Nobel Peace Center, you will immediately see these words by Nelson Mandela. The best weapon is to sit down and talk. Hmm. How many times has your impression of someone changed just by having a few words together in conversation? The great philosopher Rumi said, "What you seek is seeking you." There's a story that fits that thought. There was a farmer sitting by his broken down tractor on the side of the road when a man happened to walk by. The man told him he was moving into the town nearby and wondered what kind of people there were there. The farmer asked him, "What kind of people did you come from?" The man replied, "Horrible. They would stab you in the back if you weren't looking. Glad to leave that place." Farmer shook his head and said sadly, "I'm sorry, but we have the same kind of people here." Just what I thought, said the man gruffly. In the afternoon, another man happened by and asked the farmer what kind of people were in the town nearby as he was moving in today. Farmer asked, "What kind of people did you come from?" The man replied, "Oh, the best. They would give me the shirt off their back if I needed anything. I hated to leave." Farmer smiled. "You're in luck. We have the same kind of people here." Hmm. Tragedy comes and reminds us that people are good, that there are so many more good, kind, and generous people than evil. This week on your bathroom mirror, write, "What I seek, I will find." Open your hearts and believe in people. Join me next Monday for Live, Life Inspired Views for Every Day. I'm Chris Meyer, and I'm a curious soul.